Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I sat in the passenger seat of his sleek black Mercedes, my hands trembling as I adjusted the hem of my dress. The champagne-colored silk hugged my frame perfectly. At least it had when I tried it on at home. Now, under the sterile glow of the street lights and the judgmental gaze of my own reflection in the car window, I felt exposed and ridiculous. The wedding was in full swing inside the grand reception hall, but I was sitting outside in the cold, alone. Marcus had locked me in the car 2 hours ago. It started as a quiet argument, the kind you think you can fix with a soft word or an apology. But Marcus wasn't the type to be calmed by reason. He thrived on control, on dominance. And tonight, he'd made it clear that I was nothing more than an accessory, a mistake even. "You look pathetic," he had hissed as we pulled up to the wedding venue, his hand gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "That dress? Do you even have a mirror at home?" My heart had squeezed painfully in my chest. I'd spent 2 months saving up for this dress, 2 months of extra shifts at the coffee shop, of skipping meals so I could afford something nice to wear to his sister's wedding. I wanted to look beautiful for him. I thought he'd be proud of me. Apparently I'd been wrong. "You can't come in looking like that," Marcus had sneered, his lip curling in disgust as his eyes scanned me up and down. "I can't have my family seeing you looking like that." "Marcus, please," I had whispered, my throat tightening as tears gathered in my eyes. And then he had laughed, a cold, heartless sound. "You're not going to ruin this night for me." Before I could say another word, he'd gotten out of the car, circled around to my side, yanked open the door and grabbed my arm. His fingers dug into my skin hard enough to bruise. "You're staying here," he had growled. "Sit still, keep quiet. My family doesn't need to see your pathetic face." And then the click of the lock. He had taken my phone from my lap and slipped it into his pocket. "Wouldn't want you bothering anyone." Then he shut the door, locked it, and walked toward the entrance of the wedding hall. I watched as he slipped inside, his tailored tuxedo perfectly molded to his tall frame. He didn't even look back. I sat frozen for a long moment, stunned by the coldness of it all. I tugged at the handle of the door, but it wouldn't budge. Panic started to creep up my spine. I glanced around the empty parking lot, but there was no one in sight, just me alone in the dark. Minutes turned into an hour. My legs started to cramp. I could hear the faint sounds of music and laughter drifting from the hall, the sound of clinking glasses and celebratory cheers. I imagined Marcus inside, charming the guests with his perfect smile, maybe even laughing about me. My cheeks burned with humiliation. And then, after 2 hours of this, the car door unlocked with a soft click. Marcus slid into the driver's seat, smiling as if nothing had happened. His hair was slightly disheveled, his bow tie loosened. His eyes glinted with amusement. "Did you learn your lesson?" he asked. I didn't answer. My throat was so tight I could barely breathe. "Well," Marcus said, adjusting the cuff of his shirt, "I suppose you've suffered enough. Let's get you inside." I didn't want to go inside, I wanted to scream, but my body felt too heavy, too numb. Marcus opened the car door for me and offered his hand. I hesitated, but he grabbed my wrist and pulled me out. His grip was tight, not painful but threatening. I stumbled slightly in my heels. Inside the hall, the room was dazzling. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the tables were set with delicate floral arrangements and silver cutlery. Marcus's mother spotted us almost immediately. Her gaze slid down my dress, her lips thinning in disapproval. "This is?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. Marcus's grip on my waist tightened. "This," he smiled. "She's just a friend." I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. "A friend?" Marcus winked at one of the bridesmaids standing nearby. She giggled. I wanted to vanish. Every eye in the room seemed to be on me. I forced a smile, even as tears burned at the back of my eyes. My heart pounded in my chest so violently I thought I might faint. "Excuse me," I said softly, stepping away from Marcus's grip. "Where are you going?" Marcus demanded, but I ignored him. I stumbled toward the nearest hallway and collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath. My vision blurred. I pressed my hand to my mouth to stifle the sobs rising in my throat. A moment later, I heard Marcus's voice behind me. Seriously, his tone was amused. Don't embarrass yourself any more than you already have. I whirled to face him, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. I spent 2 months saving for this dress, I said, my voice shaking. And you locked me in the car. My breath hitched. Marcus stepped closer, his mouth twisting into a condescending smile. And you think anyone here cares? My hand shot out before I even realized what I was doing. My palm connected with his cheek in a sharp, resounding slap. The room fell dead silent. Marcus's eyes widened in disbelief. A deep red mark was already blooming across his cheek. I lifted my chin. I hope they all heard that, I whispered. Marcus's jaw tightened. He reached for my arm, but I stepped back. My pulse roared in my ears. You're pathetic, Marcus hissed. No, I said, my voice was steady now. You are. I turned and walked away without looking back. Marcus didn't follow me, but that wasn't the end of it. 3 weeks later, I woke up to find 41 missed calls on my phone. 41 frantic voicemails. Baby, please pick up. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. You don't understand. I need you. My stomach twisted as I listened to his frantic apologies. The desperation in his voice was new, so different from the cold detachment he usually wielded like a weapon. But I didn't respond. I deleted every voicemail without listening to the end because Marcus had already shown me exactly who he was, and now it was my turn to show him exactly who I could become. It had been 3 weeks since Marcus locked me in that car and humiliated me at his sister's wedding. 3 weeks since he introduced me as just a friend and winked at the bridesmaids like I was a joke, a passing amusement. 3 weeks since I had walked away from him, head held high, my heart shattered but my pride intact. And now I was listening to the last of the 41 frantic voicemails he'd left me. Baby, please, his voice crackled through the speaker. He sounded breathless, desperate. I know I messed up. I don't know what I was thinking that night. Please just give me a chance to explain. I stared down at my phone, my finger hovering over the delete button. I knew exactly what would happen if I called him back. He'd say all the right things, apologize, tell me how beautiful I was, how much he missed me, and then he'd go right back to treating me like trash. My thumb pressed down. Delete. It wasn't enough to just walk away from Marcus. I wanted more than closure. I wanted revenge. But first, I needed to rebuild myself from the ground up. The first thing I did was quit the job at the coffee shop. Marcus had always looked down on it, saying I was wasting my time with pointless work. He didn't know that it had paid for my rent, my bills, and that dress I wore to the wedding, the one he mocked so easily. I knew I deserved more. I'd graduated with honors in business and marketing, but Marcus had always discouraged me from applying to the high-paying firms downtown. You'll never make it there, he had said. Just stay where you are. It's safer. Safe for him, maybe not for me. So I updated my resume, put on my best blazer, and walked into one of the most prestigious marketing firms in the city, Hartman & Company. The receptionist gave me a skeptical once-over. My heels were slightly scuffed, and my bag had seen better days, but I lifted my chin and smiled confidently. I'm here for the interview with Mr. Hartman, I said. The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. Oh right. Follow me. I didn't let my nerves show as I walked into the sleek glass-walled office. A man in his late 40s with steel gray hair sat behind a massive mahogany desk. He glanced up, expression cool. Miss Whitmore. Yes, I smiled. Thank you for seeing me on such short notice. He gestured to the seat in front of him. I sat down and crossed my legs carefully. Tell me why you're qualified for this position, Mr. Hartman said, his tone clipped. I didn't hesitate. I laid out my qualifications, my degree, my work experience, the creative strategies I had implemented at the coffee shop to improve customer retention. His expression remained impassive, but I could see the slight lift of his eyebrow when I mentioned how I had increased customer engagement by 25% through a targeted campaign. And why should I take a risk on you? I smiled. Because I don't give up, and because I know that once you give me a chance, I'll prove to you that no one will work harder than I will. Mr. Hartman was silent for a long moment. Then, he leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers beneath his chin. All right, he said. You're hired. I blinked. What? You heard me, he said. You start Monday. I walked out of that office feeling 10 feet taller. Monday morning arrived faster than I expected. I wore my best-fitted blazer and a cream blouse. Nothing flashy but professional. My hair was pulled back into a sleek ponytail, and I carried a new leather tote bag, a gift to myself with my first paycheck from the job. My desk was positioned near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The view was breathtaking, but I didn't have time to admire it, not when I had meetings, presentations, and deadlines to meet. I threw myself into the work, staying late to perfect campaign strategies and waking up early to double-check the data. The job was demanding, but I thrived under the pressure, and the office gossip traveled fast. "Who's the new girl?" I heard one of the junior associates whisper near the coffee machine. "That's Amelia Whitmore," another one said. "Apparently, Hartman hired her on the spot." "She's good," another voice added. "Like scary good." That made me smile. A week later, Mr. Hartman called me into his office. "You've exceeded expectations," he said, flipping through a folder of reports. "Our client engagement is up by 30% since you started." "Thank you," I said, trying to hide my smile. He closed the folder and met my gaze. "Keep it up. I see great potential in you." I left the office feeling lighter than I had in months. I was building a life for myself without Marcus. I didn't need him, but of course Marcus didn't like that. Started with texts. "Marcus. Hey, can we talk?" I ignored it. "Marcus. I miss you." Delete. "Marcus. Please just tell me how to fix this." Delete. Then came the voicemails. His voice was low and frantic. "Amelia, please, I love you. I don't know what I was thinking. I can't stop thinking about you." I blocked his number. Then one night after work, I found him waiting outside my apartment building. "Amelia." I froze. He was leaning against the hood of his car, looking disheveled. His shirt was rumpled, and his eyes were bloodshot. "What are you doing here?" I asked coldly. I wanted to see you." "Well, you've seen me. You can go now." "Amelia, please," he begged, stepping toward me. "I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you." "You locked me in a car for 2 hours," I said sharply. "You humiliated me in front of your entire family." His face twisted in shame. "I know. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking." "You were sober," I said icily. "Amelia." I pushed past him toward the door. He grabbed my arm. "Just give me a chance," Marcus said, his voice low. "I can fix this." I turned toward him slowly. "You don't get to fix this, Marcus. You're being unreasonable." He hissed, his eyes darkened. "After everything I've done for you, what have you done for me?" I demanded. "You belittled me, controlled me, made me feel like I was nothing." Marcus's jaw clenched. "I loved you." "No, Marcus," my eyes burned. "You didn't. You loved having power over me." I stepped away. Marcus watched me, his expression twisting into something cold and dangerous. "You'll regret this," he said softly. "I doubt it." I walked into my building without looking back. At work, I threw myself into a major campaign for one of the company's biggest clients, a luxury fashion brand. I stayed late into the night perfecting the presentation. The night of the pitch, Mr. Hartman brought me into the boardroom to present the final concept. The clients were impressed, so impressed that they immediately signed on for a 3-year contract. Mr. Hartman shook my hand after the meeting. "You just closed one of the biggest deals of the year," he said. I smiled. "Thank you. You've got a future here, Amelia," he said, and I knew he was right. Since that night outside my apartment, his attempts to contact me had slowed down, but they hadn't stopped. My focus was on my career. After closing the fashion campaign deal, I became something of a rising star at Hartman and Company. Mr. Hartman had even promoted me to senior marketing strategist, a title that came with a significant pay bump, a larger office, and invitations to high-profile industry events. I had worked hard for this. I had earned this, and Marcus didn't like that. I should have known he wouldn't let me go so easily. It started with small things. Anonymous comments under my social media posts, nasty whispers in the office hallways. "She's not that good," I overheard one of the junior associates mutter near the break room. "Mr. Hartman's just giving her special treatment." I ignored it at first. Office gossip was part of the job, but then strange things started happening. My reports would disappear from the shared drives. Emails I was certain I'd sent would vanish without a trace. I showed up to a meeting with a client only to discover that someone had deliberately changed the time on my calendar, making me late. It was subtle at first, so subtle I thought I was imagining it. But then I received an email from a blocked account. Subject: "You think you're untouchable." My stomach flipped. I stared at the screen, heart hammering in my chest. I knew exactly who it was. 2 days later, I was in my office when Mr. Hartman appeared in the doorway. "Amelia." I stood immediately. "Yes." His expression was hard to read. "I need to speak with you about something." I followed him into the conference room, where 2 other senior staff members were seated at the long glass table. My chest tightened. "Please sit," Mr. Hartman said. I sat, smoothing down my pencil skirt. My palms were damp. "There's been a concerning development," Mr. Hartman said, sliding a printed document toward me. "We've received a complaint about you." I frowned and picked up the paper. My eyes widened as I scanned the words. The complaint alleged that I had been taking credit for other people's work, that I had misled clients, fabricated reports, and manipulated internal data. "What?" My voice was sharp. "This isn't true." "I'm aware of that," Mr. Hartman said calmly. "But the problem is that this complaint was sent." I flipped to the next page and felt the blood drain from my face. The evidence was a series of altered emails and reports, all tied to my name. "I didn't do this," I said sharply. "Someone's setting me up." "I believe you," Mr. Hartman said. "But we need to figure out who would go to this extent to sabotage you." A cold chill ran down my spine. Marcus. It was his style: cold, calculated, quietly destructive. He wasn't the type to confront things directly. He preferred to operate from the shadows, twisting the knife when you least expected it. "You'll have our support while we investigate," Mr. Hartman said. "But Amelia, whoever did this knows you well." That night, I sat in my apartment staring at my phone. My hands trembled as I opened my blocked list and scrolled down until I found Marcus' number. Unblock. My finger hovered over the call button. I shouldn't do this, I knew I shouldn't. But I wanted to look him in the eye when I destroyed him. I pressed call. He answered on the second ring. "Amelia." His voice was low, smooth, like he'd been waiting for me. "We need to talk," I said. His breath hitched. "Come to my place tonight." I almost laughed at the audacity of him. "You can meet me at the Blackstone," I said. Marcus chuckled. "So cold," he murmured. "It's almost like you've changed." I hung up without another word. The Blackstone was one of the most exclusive rooftop bars in the city. Low lighting, dark wood, the clink of expensive glassware. The type of place Marcus loved because it screamed power. He was already there when I arrived, lounging in a leather booth near the back. His hair was slicked back, and he wore a fitted charcoal suit. He smiled when he saw me. "You came." "I'm not here to reminisce," I said, sitting down across from him. Marcus leaned forward. "You're angry. Someone's trying to sabotage me at work," I said flatly. "Fabricated emails, fake reports. Sound familiar?" Marcus's smile sharpened. "You think I would waste my time doing that?" "Absolutely," Marcus chuckled. "You've always had such a low opinion of me." "With good reason," I shot back. His eyes darkened. "I miss you." I laughed bitterly. "No, Marcus, you miss controlling me." Marcus's jaw twitched. "Careful, Amelia. What are you going to do?" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "Lock me in another car?" Marcus's smile vanished. I slid out of the booth and walked toward the exit. My heart hammered in my chest, but I didn't let it show. Marcus didn't follow me, but I knew this wasn't over. The sabotage escalated after that. Documents continued disappearing. One of my biggest clients threatened to back out of a deal because of a miscommunication I hadn't even been aware of. And then, 2 days before a critical presentation, my computer was wiped clean, every file, every document gone. I sat frozen at my desk, my pulse thundering in my ears. Mr. Hartman called me into his office immediately. "This isn't looking good," he said, his face grave. "If you can't present tomorrow, I'll fix it," I said quickly. "How?" I had no idea, but I knew I couldn't. I won't let Marcus win. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment with my laptop open, surrounded by papers and printouts. My mind raced. If Marcus had hacked into my system, There had to be a way to trace it. I called an old friend from college, Eric, a cybersecurity specialist. I need a favor, I said. 20 minutes later, Eric was on my screen typing rapidly. Bingo, he said. My heart leapt. You found it. Eric grinned. I traced the IP address back to a private server. Guess who it's registered to? I already knew, Marcus. My blood boiled. Can you get proof? Already sent to your email, he replied. I smiled coldly. Thank you. The next morning, I walked into Mr. Hartman's office with a file in hand. Here's your evidence, I said, setting it down on the table. Mr. Hartman flipped through it, his eyes narrowing. Impressive, he said. I'd like to file a formal complaint. I said calmly and pressed charges. Mr. Hartman's mouth lifted into a rare smile. Consider it handled. Marcus called me that night. I heard, he said, his voice sharp with anger. Good. You think this is over? I know it is, I said. Careful, Amelia. No, Marcus, I said coldly. You be careful, because the next time you come near me, I won't just take your reputation. I'll take your career, your money, and everything you've ever valued. I hung up. Marcus never called me again. A week later, I closed another major deal for Hartman and Company. Mr. Hartman invited me to a celebratory dinner, and I wasn't surprised when he introduced me to the CEO of a major company. This is Amelia Whitmore, Mr. Hartman said proudly. She's one of our best. The CEO smiled warmly. I've heard good things about you. I smiled back because Marcus had tried to destroy me, but I had come out stronger. And this time no one was going to lock me away. Success became a drug. After Marcus' pathetic attempt to sabotage me had been exposed, everything started to shift in my favor. Mr. Hartman gave me a promotion, Director of Marketing Strategy, with a corner office and a salary that made my bank account finally reflect the hours I had put into my career. I wasn't just climbing the corporate ladder. I was running it. The whispers in the office changed from skepticism to admiration. She's brilliant, I heard one of the junior associates say as I passed through the hallways. And ruthless, someone else added. Good. I didn't mind being called ruthless. Marcus had taught me that kindness was a weakness when it came to people like him. But I wasn't ruthless, not really. I was efficient, focused, and now that Marcus was out of my way, nothing was stopping me. That evening, I was walking out of the office late when I saw him leaning against the black Mercedes parked at the curb. My pulse quickened, not from fear but from rage. Marcus, I said. He smiled faintly. You look good. I stopped a few feet away from him. Why are you here? Marcus's gaze slid down my body, taking in my fitted black dress and high heels. His eyes darkened. I've been thinking about you, he said. You need to stop. He pushed away from the car and stepped toward me. I didn't move. You didn't give me a chance to explain, Marcus said. After everything we've been through, you humiliated me in front of your family, I said sharply. You locked me in a car and left me there like I was trash. There's nothing to explain. His jaw tightened. You've changed. Yes, I said. I finally learned not to put up with your. Marcus's mouth curled into a bitter smile. You think you're untouchable now? No, I said. I know I am. Marcus's eyes narrowed. He took another step toward me, his body radiating tension. You can't erase me, he said quietly. I made you, I smiled coldly. No, Marcus, you didn't make me. You tried to break me and you failed. Marcus's nostrils flared. His hand shot out to grab my arm, not painfully but possessively. You think you're better than me? He hissed. I am better than you, I said calmly. Then someone else's hand wrapped around Marcus's wrist and pulled him away from me. Let go of her, a low, sharp voice said. Marcus's eyes widened slightly as he was forced to take a step back. I turned my head and saw Ethan standing behind me. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a crisp navy suit. His gray-blue eyes were hard as steel as he stared Marcus down. Marcus's lips twisted. And who the hell are you? Ethan Hartman, Ethan said smoothly. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Mr. Hartman's son. That's right, Ethan replied. Marcus's jaw ticked. His eyes flicked to me, then back to Ethan. This doesn't concern you, Marcus said coldly. It does when you touch someone who works for my company, Ethan replied, his tone calm, too calm. And it especially does when you touch her. Marcus's eyes darkened. Stay out of this. Ethan smiled faintly, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Make me. Marcus's fists curled at his sides. Enough, I said, stepping between them. Marcus, walk away. Marcus's gaze shot to me. Amelia, walk away. My voice was ice. Marcus's jaw tightened. For a moment I thought he might refuse, but then he smiled faintly. This isn't over, he murmured. He turned and strode toward his car, his polished shoes clicking sharply against the pavement. I watched him leave without flinching. Behind me, Ethan's hand rested lightly on my arm. Are you okay? He asked softly. I exhaled slowly. I'm fine. Ethan's eyes darkened. If he comes near you again. He won't, I interrupted. Ethan studied me for a moment, his expression unreadable. I mean it, I said. I can handle Marcus. Ethan smiled faintly. I don't doubt that. Our eyes met and held. There was something about the way he was looking at me, something steady and unwavering. I should get home, I said, my voice slightly breathless. I'll walk you. That's not necessary, Amelia. I hesitated. Ethan smiled. Let me walk you. We didn't speak much on the way to my apartment. Ethan's presence was enough, solid and protective without being overbearing. When we reached the entrance, I turned toward him. Thank you, I said. You don't have to thank me, Ethan said quietly. He's lucky I didn't break his arm. I smiled faintly. Ethan's gaze softened. He hesitated for a moment and then lifted his hand to my face. His thumb brushed gently against my cheek. You don't owe him anything, Ethan said. His voice was low and rough. You know that, right? I know you deserve better. My heart twisted painfully. I'm trying to believe that. Ethan's hand slid to the side of my neck, his fingers resting just below my jawline. My breath hitched. I'm not him, Ethan said quietly. I knew that Ethan was nothing like Marcus. That was what scared me because if I let Ethan in, if I let myself believe in him, there was a chance he could break me in a different way. I should go, I whispered. Ethan's thumb brushed my jawline. Amelia, I stepped back. His hand fell away from my face. Good night, I said. Ethan watched me carefully. Good night. Marcus showed up at my apartment 2 nights later. I opened the door and found him standing there, his eyes slightly wild. Amelia, he said, his voice rough. I started to close the door, but Marcus's hand shot out, pressing against the frame. Please, he said. Just give me a minute. You have 30 seconds. Marcus's breath hitched. I miss you. I don't care. I love you. I don't care. Marcus's expression twisted. You think you're so strong now, don't you? I am strong. Marcus's lips curled. Do you really think he's different? My pulse sharpened. Who, Ethan? Marcus sneered. Do you think he'll stay once he's had you? My chest burned. Get out. Marcus's gaze turned cold. Fine, he stepped back. I hope he ruins you just like I did. I smiled faintly. You didn't ruin me, Marcus. His eyes narrowed. You made me bulletproof. Marcus's mouth tightened, but he had nothing left to say. I shut the door, locked it, and smiled to myself because I wasn't afraid anymore. And this time I wasn't going to let anyone, not even Ethan, make me vulnerable again. I should have known it wouldn't end quietly. Marcus was the type of man who couldn't handle losing, especially to me. The blocked number texts had stopped. The white roses had stopped showing up on my desk. The menacing presence of Marcus waiting outside my apartment had disappeared. But that didn't mean he was gone. Oh, that Marcus was planning something. I could feel it. And I was right. It had been a month since Ethan and I had whatever it was we were building. We weren't officially together, not yet, but he was there constantly. His steady presence had become a comfort I hadn't realized I needed. I woke up in his bed more often than my own. He'd pick me up from work, take me out to dinner, and make me laugh in ways I didn't think were possible anymore. He was careful with me, patient. He never pushed me for more, but I could feel the tension growing between us, and I was finally starting to let my guard down. That's why I didn't see it coming. The invitation arrived on a Thursday morning. It was a cream-colored envelope, expensive and embossed with gold lettering. It had been left on my desk at work. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Marcus Kingsley and Charlotte Monroe. My hand tightened around the invitation, my pulse spiked. I stared down at the words rising in my throat. Marcus was getting married. Charlotte Monroe, his parents' longtime favorite for him. She was old money, perfect on paper, and came with the type of pedigree Marcus's family adored. He never loved her. He had always told me that. But now he was marrying her. My chest tightened painfully. For a brief second, doubt crept in. Had he really moved on that fast? Was I that easy to replace? But then I saw the note inside the invitation. A single line scrawled in Marcus' sharp handwriting. Come, I want you to see what you lost. Rage surged through me. This wasn't about love. This was about power. Control. Marcus was trying to prove that he still held something over me, that I would still come running when he called. He was wrong. That night, I sat on Ethan's couch, holding the invitation between my fingers. Ethan watched me carefully, his jaw tight. You don't have to go, Ethan said. I smiled faintly. Oh, I'm going. Ethan's brows drew together. Amelia, I know what he's doing, I said calmly. He thinks I'll show up heartbroken. He wants me to watch him stand at the altar and feel like I lost. Ethan's eyes darkened and I smiled coldly. I'm going to make sure he's the one who loses. Ethan's gaze sharpened. What are you planning? I set the invitation down on the table. He thinks this is checkmate, I said. But he doesn't realize I'm not playing his game anymore. I arrived at the wedding wearing a crimson dress. It was fitted silk and draped over my body like a second skin. The neckline plunged just enough to make it scandalous, but not enough to be inappropriate. My heels were high and sharp, the kind of heels you could use as a weapon if needed. Ethan was waiting for me at the entrance of the cathedral. He was wearing a tailored black suit, and his gray-blue eyes darkened when he saw me. You're dangerous, he murmured. I smiled. Let's make it memorable. Ethan held out his arm, and I slid my hand through it. Marcus wanted me broken. He was about to get a front-row seat to my success. The cathedral was packed with guests. High society figures, politicians, and old money families. The air was thick with expectation. Marcus was standing at the altar, wearing a perfectly tailored tuxedo. His gaze was sharp as he watched me walk down the aisle. Not toward him but toward a seat in the front row. His eyes narrowed. Good. Charlotte stood beside him, blonde, statuesque, and painfully beautiful. She smiled delicately at the guests, but her eyes were calculating. She knew what this marriage was about, power and position. I took my seat. Ethan sat beside me, his hand resting lightly on my knee. His touch was steady, grounding me. The ceremony began. I watched Marcus as Charlotte walked toward him. His gaze flicked toward me every few seconds, his expression controlled, too controlled. He was waiting for me to crack, to flinch. I smiled instead. Charlotte reached the altar, and the priest began to speak. Marcus' gaze cut toward me, and that's when I stood. The room went deathly silent. I could feel the weight of every pair of eyes on me. Charlotte's smile faltered. Marcus's expression sharpened. I stepped toward the front of the cathedral. Ethan's hand brushed against mine as I passed. His gaze was dark, approving. I stopped at the edge of the altar. Amelia, Marcus said tightly. Don't worry, I said sweetly. I'm not here to stop the wedding. A murmur ran through the crowd. Then why are you here? Marcus demanded. I smiled faintly. To return something. I reached into my clutch and pulled out a single silver key. Marcus's expression darkened. This, I said calmly, is the key to the car you locked me in during your sister's wedding. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marcus's eyes widened. Amelia, I spent 2 hours locked in that car, I said softly, while you made it perfectly clear that I was nothing more than an inconvenience. Marcus's face twisted. Amelia, don't. I smiled. I thought you should have this back. After all, I'm done with you. I set the key down on the altar. Marcus's face darkened with rage. I hope you two have a beautiful marriage, I said sweetly. I'm sure Charlotte will enjoy being the next woman you control. Charlotte's face paled. I smiled and turned toward the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I said brightly, enjoy the reception. And then I walked back toward Ethan, my heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Ethan was standing at the edge of the aisle. His eyes were dark with approval and something deeper. I slid my hand into his. "Let's get out of here," I said. He smiled gladly. We walked down the aisle together as the crowd buzzed behind us. Marcus's gaze burned into my back, but I didn't care. I was free. Outside the cathedral, Ethan pulled me close. "You're dangerous," he murmured. I smiled. "You like that very much." His lips brushed against mine. "You played that beautifully," Ethan murmured. "I learned from the best," I whispered. Ethan's hand slid around my waist. His gaze was dark. "What happens next?" My heart hammered in my chest. I smiled faintly. "I move on," I said. Ethan's gaze sharpened. "And me. I think I'll keep you." Ethan's mouth curved into a rare slow smile. His lips found mine deep and steady. His hands tightened around my waist, pulling me against him. I wrapped my arms around his neck, letting myself sink into the kiss. This was new, unfamiliar, but it was mine. And Marcus, he was nothing more than a bad memory. 3 days later, I received a text from a blocked number. "Marcus, I hope you're happy." I smiled. "Me? I am." I deleted the text and then I blocked his number for the last time because I wasn't broken anymore. I was bulletproof, and this time no one was going to take that from me.